her mother.
Mm-hmm.
You've got
Talk about mommy issues. Holy
yes.
Moses.
You got not Talia. Is it Talia? No.
Lita?
Lita. Oh, Lita didn't.
The telepaths?
Yes, the telepaths.
Right.
That was Talia.
Talia was first, and then
Talia
Lita
Psychor.
Alexander.
Yeah, Talia
Psychor.
Winters, who also gets a secret.
Yeah, and then it leads to a great reoccurring part for Walter Koenig.
Well, Mr. Bester.
Mr.
Alfred
Bester. And it was just so interesting because Walter Koenig was not a prolific actor.
No, but he was evil in this.
He had Chekhov, and that's what everybody was used to was Chekhov from the original Star Trek. And then all of a sudden he shows up, and
From Psychor.
Everybody's scared of him.
everybody's scared of this guy. And then he played the part really, really. I mean, it was fun to watch him as a villain.
Yes.
But
then even he has his own motivations for being a villain.
Exactly.
He wanted basically the Psychor to rule everything.
Mm-hmm. And he felt, but it wasn't just.
And everybody else was.
It wasn't just world domination, kind of like I'm the evil guy. I want world domination. It was he wanted Psychor because he wanted a certain order. He wanted to help.
Telepaths should rule everybody.
Yeah,
Telepaths should be in charge.
Yeah, because he felt that was going to be best for society.
Yes.
Kind of like the whole Pluto idea that the philosophers should rule.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now I definitely have to go back and rewatch this, starting at season 1.
Bab 5 marathon at my house this
So you got to
Christmas
watch
time.
the first movie. You got to watch The Gathering, and then you watch the first season, second season, then you watch the second movie in the beginning. I think it is. I can't remember which movie. And then you go third season, fourth season, another movie, and yeah.
Wayne, would you be able to put together a proper viewing guide? And then
My
we'll
dad
post that to
has
the
the
Facebook site
viewing
for
guide for it.
SC3.
There's the Straczynski order.
Okay, it's like the machete order for Star Wars?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
But that's the order. Because like when they did the spinoff called Crusade,
Right.
because TNT bought it, and they wanted a science fiction thing after wrestling. And,
yeah, that's
Really?
a great combination.
Isn't wrestling sci-fi enough?
No, that's just fantasy.
It's the same.
Like his male soap operas.
It's the same demographic.
I will say this about wrestling. This is the only thing I'm ever going to make on a podcast comment about professional wrestling.
I like wrestling.
I know you do.
It's called wrestling.
It's
Wrestling.
I like wrestling, too.
I had a former roommate who said this.
Survivor Series tonight.
Professional wrestling is comedy. Sudden, violent comedy. That's all it is. That's basically it. As long as
I
you
like
can.
that.
Billy can't even deny that.
Yeah.
I like that.
It is sudden, violent
That's what I
comedy.
hope for.
Thank you, Paul, if you're listening out
Jumping out
there.
of the crowd, grabbing a chair, pounding it. Yeah.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So-
Standing on the top of the
Like I was
ropes.
saying, you had the Vorlon they're the elder races, the Vorlons, the Shadows, and then you had the younger races, which were the Narn, the Centauri, Minbari.
The humans, even
No, the humans were like
a
the
newer,
new kids,
even
on
newer
the block.
races.
Yeah, they're like the teenagers.
Okay,
And,
we are the upstart punks.
Yeah, basically that's what we were,
Angsty teens.
and it was
That
like
seems to be the role of humans in every sci-fi thing. Like,
It
oh,
really
yeah, they're
is.
kinda
It is.
there.
You know, it does feel that way sometimes. In a lot of sci-fi, it's like the humans are. Well, we're the new people on the block, and now we're messing everything up, and we're trying to fix the universe, and it's not working out so well.
The whole thing started out was with the war with the Minbari, and the Minbari almost killed. Well, they basically almost took over the unit.
Yeah, they almost destroyed the human race in
They just
that war,
stopped all of
which
a
is all
sudden.
off screen. That all happens before the show begins, right?
Yes, that all happens.
That's all
before the
hinted
show
at.
Begins. It just starts with Babylon 5, and there used to be 4 Babylon stations before.
You think they'd get used to okay, Babylon. It was almost, whenever they start talking about Babylon 5 being the last of the stations, and they're talking about the history of the stations, I always remembered that spot in Monty Python Holy Grail where Terry Jones's character is talking about him building the castle in the swamp.
Yes.
Okay, and it's like, well, that one just we built it, it was beautiful, and then it burned down and fell into the swamp, and everything kept falling into the swamp.
Yeah.
Like, don't you get the idea that maybe you should stop?
Well,
Don't build in the
like,
swamp.
It's like the first 3 Babylons were sabotaged and blew up.
Then the fourth one was
one came online for like 24 hours and then
disappeared.
vanished and blipped out of existence. And then the fifth one came up.
You got to admire their tenacity, Kelsey. Seriously, they keep
Can you
doing.
imagine? It's just like, yeah, we lost the Babylon
It's like, but it was
We
just
lost
there.
Babylon
Three
4.
stations prior to this.
Where did it go?
Well,
They
the
actually
other-
explained that.
The other 3 were at least blown up.
Yeah.
Yes.
This one just poof.
Sabotage or accidentally destroyed.
Yeah.
When you're the intern who loses the entire station.
Whoops.
That intern would be fired.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Zathras.
And then you've got Zathras, yes. And then you've got the Vorlons, who are supposedly on the good guy side.
But
And
there's always that little quality of mystery, like you're
the
not
Shadows,
quite sure.
which are on the bad guys' side. Oh, no, they are the bad guys.
Yeah.
And then you've got Lorien, who's like
Right.
the oldest of all of them.
Uh-huh.
Just there.
Yeah.
Just hanging
That was
out.
an interesting
they were
plot
his
line.
kids.
Yeah.
The Vorlons and all the elder races
Were his
kids-
children.
Were his kids.
That's crazy when
He
you
was
start
just-
thinking of the grand scope of the universe that way.
Yeah. And he was just there. Oh yeah, they play like this all the time. And it's
Yeah.
like
Oh, kids.
All right, who have I not heard from? Dee and Sybil. You guys have been quiet. I know this is not your usual bag, but what do you think?
Well, I actually love Babylon 5.
Oh my
But
God! And you just
my dad
Uh-huh.
has everything,
okay.
and I mean everything.
Well, I know.
Like, right now, I am looking on the wall, Declaration of Principles by Citizen Jakar.
Oh my stars! What's the first one?
Well, I can actually read the whole thing to you.
Okay, go to it.
All right. The universe speaks in many languages, but only one voice. The language is not Narn or human or Centauri or game or Minbari. It speaks in the language of hope. It speaks in the language of trust. It speaks in the language of strength, in the language of compassion, in the language of the heart, in the language of the soul. But always it is the same voice. It is the voice of our ancestors speaking through us, and the voice of our inheritors waiting to be born. It is the small, still voice that says we are one. No matter the blood, no matter the skin, no matter the world, no matter the star, we are one. No matter the pain, no matter the darkness, no matter the loss, no matter the fear, we are one. Here, gathered together in common cause, we agree to recognize the singular truth that we are one, and the singular rule that we must be kind to one another, because each voice enriches us and ennobles us, and each voice lost diminishes us. We are the voice of the universe, the soul of creation, the fire that will light the way to a better future. We are one. We are one.
Isn't that that's perfect for
See,
what
that
we're
would
going
fit
through in
to
our society
today,
right now?
Yeah.
Thinking
And this
the
was
same
20
thing.
years ago.
And that was 20 years ago. And you've made mention that whenever we talked about Bab 5 in the past, you've talked about how it's so relatable to what
Yeah,
we were going through.
Everything is.
And I'm listening to, and I'm getting chills listening to you read that, Sibs, because of just everything that's going on in our society and our country, just in recent weeks.
Right.
That's
Well, they even had that in Babylon 5 where the president kind of like got assassinated. Mm-hmm. And then
not kinda.
kinda.
he got blowed up.
But the vice president had a cold, so he had to get off the spaceship. They
Yeah.
were doing a tour, and he had a cold, so he had to get off the spaceship. And next thing you know, the spaceship blows up.
Yeah.
And
Political intrigue, social commentary.
Night Watch, which is like Homeland Security.
It is. It
It's
really
like-
is. So basically, as I love to give homework, it's the
Sounds like
the budding teacher
Designated
in me.
Survivor, only more interesting because spaceships.
It's Designated Survivor on a spaceship.
No, but that's just Jack Bauer as the president.
Yeah.
so that's I think that's the biggest takeaway is it changed how we told stories on television. It changed how we handled science fiction on television, and it really brought to the forefront that social commentary that makes science fiction as a genre from way back when all the way to today makes it so important because it tells us, it's a futuristic look at what we're dealing with and how, the people ahead of us are going to look back at us in our current state
And still be dealing with the
and
same
still
things.
dealing with the same things. I'm going to say it again, Sybil. As you were reading it, I kept looking around the room here in the studio, going, "Oh my God, this is so perfect compared to what we are dealing with." So yeah, it's that open imagination, it's that open mind, it's that wonder, but still that grounded in reality.
Yes.
All right, how about you, Dee?
Never seen an episode.
Well, we're gonna fix that. That's me giving out homework. All right,
It's just that it's hard to find because, like I said, usually you have to kind of watch them at least in order,
Yeah.
so that you can catch all the stuff that doesn't make sense that will make sense later on.
Right.
And
A friend of mine gave me the box set with the whole TV series,
Mm-hmm.
and as I look on Amazon, say there's 5 or 6 movies.
Yes.
Are those essential viewing with
Yes.
the TV
the
series?
first one, the first movie is The Gathering.
Okay,
and that's
so
the,
that
that's
goes
the pilot.
first. Okay.
And that sets up all the stuff with the Vorlons that
Mm-hmm.
no one's ever seen a Vorlon.
I'm looking at that big stack of DVDs that you have on the table in front of you, and I'm like, that's a big homework project right there.
Well, it's
There's a lot.
110
Binge watching.
episodes.
110 episodes and 5 movies, or
And
is, it,
5
is that
movies.
included? Okay.
Stacks like a foot tall. I can see it peeking up over.
It's peeking up over the array of
Like I
bobblehead
said,
dolls.
110 episodes and 5 movies.
All right.
So
That's not a.
Yeah, it's about 6 to 8 weeks of solid binge watching.
With
But-
breaks in between,
With
right?
breaks in between.
Yeah, you got to
Only for the week.
And I'm so OCD that
You'd have to
literally-
finish everything.
Well, I would. Plus, I get like if something catches my imagination, my fancy, I'll just start reading about it on like an episode. I got to read more about that episode. I got stuck on an episode of Black Mirror
Oh,
for
yeah.
2 days.
Oh, wow.
Because I wanted to read this review and read this Reddit and this subreddit. And that one episode of Black Mirror took me like a day and a half because I just wanted to read more
Well,
about
back when Babylon
that.
5 was out, there was the website, the Lurker's Guide to Babylon 5. And every episode, there'd be nothing, and then after the episode airs, there's all the stuff that would come out, all the comments, all the reviews, all the ideas for what this means, what this doesn't mean, just like when Lost was around. It'd be the exact same thing. You'd have all this discussion about what each episode meant. And then
I hope the ending was a lot more satisfying than the Lost ending.
I think they did
Lost?
good. I remember watching the tail end of
Oh, yeah,
as they were
yeah,
closing up
yeah.
shop on Babylon 5 and
Well,
the way they wrapped it up.
he knew how it was going to end. He always knew.
They
how
all
Yeah.
they all wound up in jail for making fun of a fat guy. No,
And then they started building Babylon 6.
And then they ended mid sentence.
Yeah. Then they
They made another Death Star.
again.
But this time it's a planet.
But it's a great series, and like I said, it has political stuff, religious stuff, and Jakar used to be the angry militant guy, and then things happens to him where he becomes
a spiritual
religious-
leader,
he
right?
becomes a
Because of
spiritual
all those
leader.
people. And
One of my
and
almost
favorite
everybody.
episodes-
I remember
one of my
Go ahead.
One of my absolute favorite episodes is when they have the week of all the religions.
Yeah, I
And you
knew
get to
that's
see
where I was
Ah,
going.
yes.
of
Yeah.
each of the religions, and then the Earth religion at the end, and it's introducing this is a person of Jewish, and this is Orthodox Jewish, and this is Hindu, and
this is Muslim, and this is
And there's a
Buddhist.
whole
Christian, and
line
this is
of
Yeah.
about a
a
mile
whole
long
line.
of different
It
religions.
was.
It-
I absolutely loved that episode. It was fantastic.
Yeah, because Sinclair was struggling with that the entire episode. He was like, "Well,
Mm-hmm.
how do I present?" Because it was an exchange of spiritual ideas. So the Minbari were going to talk about their unified faith, and the Narn were going to bring forth their unified faith, and the Centauri were going to bring their unified craziness that they
Well,
had.
no, they have a unified
Yeah.
faith because they destroyed all the other faiths that
Yes.
they had. So
Yeah.
there was only
Yeah.
one
And,
left.
so Sinclair was, who was commander at the time, was struggling with how would he represent Earth in terms of faith, and he was struggling with his own faith. And then at the very end,
Because
it's
he's
like,
a Jesuit.
yeah, he was.
He's
Was he a full priest?
No, he's just
was just a Jesuit.
He was raised Jesuit.
Yeah.
And he went to Jesuit school.
And then as Sybil was talking about this great scene, there's this people lined up in their traditional garb.
There was an atheist too.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
the atheist.
And he goes right down the line. This is the religion of Earth.
Yeah.
And introduced this person, and then this, and everything was different. It was every single different. And so nobody was more important than the other. It was just how Earth has expressed itself, as humanity has expressed itself. And that was just a huge tip of the hat.
Out
for
of
me.
many, one.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically
Yeah.
that was it.
E
And they've
Orbis Unum.
they did the Looking for the Holy Grail episode.
Yeah.
They did the
Yeah.
King Arthur episode.
Uh-huh.
They did they did all the tropes. They did There's Something Lurking Beneath the Lost Levels of Babylon 5.
Uh-huh.
There's it's Grace, I think it was Grace 17 is missing. It's like
Yeah, there was an entire floor of
Yeah.
the station that went missing.
well, it wasn't missing. It was always there, but no one ever knew it.
All right, and so like I said, homework. Everybody, if you get an opportunity to spend some time watching this classic TV series, feel free to spend time. When this podcast airs, I'm going to make sure that we put some links up on our Facebook site so you can find the Straczynski order. Thank you. God, I couldn't think of that word today.